Welcome back on the AM show. Before we zoom into that conversation, we at the Multimedia Group are proud to announce that we are the official free-to-air radio broadcast right owners of Euro 2024. We will deliver live commentary of selected games, including the opening game and the final, with our team of talented commentators and analysts on Joy FM, Love FM, Hits FM, Adom FM, Insura FM, and Asempa FM. Now, apart from the live radio commentary, the Multimedia Group has also curated custom Euro 2024 shows on radio, TV, and digital, as well as live viewing events, all aimed at delivering unparalleled experience of the competition to our audience. Now, the Multimedia Group's radio broadcast coverage of the Euro 2024 tournament is by courtesy of Sporty TV and SportyBet. You get to watch selected matches of Euro 2024 live on Sporty TV channel 36 on your digital TV sets. So stay with us for that.
Before we proceed with the conversation this morning, an invitation to escape to the Royal Cozy Hills Hotel, the Jurapa Dubai, for an unforgettable experience. You've seen the rest, it's now time to see the best. Take a break from work, take a break from the south. The Royal Cozy Hill Hotel is the best place to rewind, relax, and re-energize. It is away from the stress of the south. Now, this is what awaits you. One unforgettable safari experience, amazing array of wildlife, including lions, hippopotamus, zebras, ostriches, and many others, using their spacious and well-secured game tour vehicles or quad bikes. 2, there's water sports, such as jet skiing, boat and canoe rides. There's also various family games to keep you and your families excited all day long. And also great tourist attractions in the Upper West region, which includes the Mushroom Rocks, the Slave Caves, etc., all awaiting you at Jurapa Dubai. So escape to the north, escape to Royal Cozy Hills Hotel for an unforgettable safari experience. And you can call them on 0501 694 280 or 024 88 444 63 for reservations and further inquiries. Now, Benjamin, the UK goes to the polls this morning.
Yes, indeed. Rishi Sunak has already voted, accompanied by his wife.
Oh, okay.
And some prominent people have already gone to the polls. But let's get into the picture now. After 6 weeks of intense campaigning, we know they are going to the polls. Joining us, we have our very own Manuel Karanting, an international journalist, joining the conversation. We also have Anof Ofori, a UK-based Ghanaian and founder of Impact Ghana. Both of them join the conversation. Manuel, good morning. Just paint for us a picture. What exactly is the atmosphere in the UK today as the polls begin? Prime Minister Sunak has already cast his vote. Just paint a picture for us.
Good morning, Benjamin. In the UK, it's absolutely make or break, you know. Really a seminal time for the voters, over 45 million voters, registered voters across the country, who are going to the polls in over 40,000 polling stations across the UK. And indeed, it's a decision between going with the Conservative Party, which has been in government since 2010, 14-year government that has been in place, and also the Labour Party, which of course a number of leading polls have tipped to be ahead and in pole position to actually rake in a resounding victory at the end of the polls today. Well, what we know is that, of course, the UK is quite significant in terms of its relationship to Ghana and by extension Ghanaians. Because, for instance, we know that the UK is a country with the highest number of Ghanaians per 100,000 of the population, even though, of course, there are more Ghanaians in Nigeria and then the United States of America. So, yes, it is an important election for the British people, but also for the immigrant community in the UK, particularly also for Ghanaians. So, yes, Ben, people are going out, like you just said. The sitting Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has already gone out to cast his ballot, and more of the senior members of government are voting. We also have the shadow cabinet, for instance, led by Sir Keir Starmer, who is the leader of the Labour Party, and actually today may learn his fate as to whether or not he becomes, if you like, wakes up tomorrow morning as a new British Prime Minister. For now, all the emphasis is really on voting for members of Parliament, who would then, culminate into the entirety of the House of Commons.
I just want a quick one. 650 constituencies, and what are the chances of the Conservative Party? It's a snap election, and Rishi Sunak himself has faced challenges in respect of some of the policies of his administration. What is the temperature? How do the people feel? And is it likely that he could be forming the next government, or maybe another party would get more votes and also, join another party to take over? In this sense, Labour. What is the reading? What do the polls say?
Well, Ben, the latest YouGov poll that was released on election eve put the Labour Party in pole position to have its biggest majority in Parliament since 1832, and that's what we are anticipating. Of course, at the center point, in excess of 212 seats of majority in the House of Commons. But on a downside, maybe up to 135 seats in majority. So whether you look at it in a very modest way or even an ambitious way, the Labour Party, at least according to the polls, is in pole position to have quite a commanding majority in Parliament. And of course, what you just mentioned, that Rishi Sunak, the current Prime Minister, is being under intense criticism, essentially over a number of the policies that have been implemented since he took office a little over a year ago. For instance, on the issue of immigration, the net migration targets that the the Conservative Party campaigned on was to beat it down, net migration, to somewhere around 100,000. At the latest numbers that we had, we are in excess of 600,000. And so there's, of course, mounting pressure on the party, particularly the right side of the party, for the government, indeed, that's led by Rishi Sunak, to implement stringent measures to make sure that the numbers are beating down. One of the key policies that he's been working on is the Rwanda Asylum Plan, which essentially is, if you like, a bilateral cooperation between the government of the UK and then the Rwandan government to get asylum seekers and people, illegal migrants who arrive at the coast of arrive at the English coast illegally, to be sent down to Rwanda and have their claims processed and so on and so forth. Well, he's been talking about that for nearly a year, if not more, and we're yet to have, for instance, a single flight move from the UK to Rwanda. That particular policy is going to be scrapped if a Labour government, for instance, wins today's election. Well, they say they're going to recruit more border control officers, police, and have these officers process their asylum claims faster and quicker than the Conservative Party or the Tory government has been doing ever since. Yes.
All right, Manuel, so clearly there are differing approaches of the Labour Party and the Conservatives in terms of immigration, but what are some of the key issues important for the migrant community in the UK, particularly the Ghanaians there?
Yes, definitely, Sweetie. This, of course, the two parties agree that the migration numbers are, if you like, too high. But for the migrant community, a number of issues, for instance, the cost of living crisis in the UK currently, the NHS waiting times, and health issues of healthcare, because there are long waiting times. If you, for instance, called into the NHS to book an appointment, I'm sure your next guest will tell you you may get an appointment sometime, perhaps after a month, 2, or even 3 months from today. There's a housing crisis and a difficulty of people being able to climb onto the housing ladder, if like the ability to own houses. There's also a key conversation about the Gaza and Israel situation and how both the Conservative government and then the Labour Party have approached it. If you want to zero it down and perhaps tunnel vision it into the micro concerns of micro groupings, like the African community, like the Ghanaian community, there are issues of a targeting of international students, for instance. The Conservative government last year introduced, or if you like, reviewed an existing policy which allowed students who are coming to the UK to bring dependents with them. That has been changed, and currently only students who are on research programs, postgraduate programs, I must say, can bring their dependents. The cost of visa applications has been increased for Ghanaians. The cost of NHS surcharge has been increased for Ghanaians, and so on and so forth. So generally, all of these concerns, and one of the parties which is further right to the Conservative Party, of course, also the splinter group, the Reform Party, they are saying, well, they're going to increase stop and search activities to make sure that they crack down on crime, which has not gone really well with the migrant community, particularly the Ghanaians here.
Okay. Thank you, Manuel. Now, Anof Ofori also joins us, and he's a UK-based Ghanaian and founder of Impact Ghana, and is a Ghanaian broadcaster also in the UK. Thanks for joining us, Anof. Anof, I know you've been following the conversation to this point. What does this election mean to you?
Yeah, thank you very much. And just like Manuel was saying there, I think he's hit on quite a few things that is a real concern for the Ghanaian community in the UK. As a Ghanaian living in the UK, I'm looking at things around the economy. How do I continue to do business? What is a safe haven for me if I'm a worker? What are the tax implications for me if I'm a worker? How am I going to be able to save so that I can take care of my family and send some money back home? These are the things that, would trigger any Ghanaian or would shift their attention to voting for any particular party. So when you look at all the parties that are currently campaigning, we've not really had a lot of time. It's only been like 6 weeks since the campaigning started. And I think they've not really focused more on the issues or the policies. It's been one scam or one issue after the other, one major TV stand after the other. But when it comes to the Ghanaian community, we are looking at basically the health sector. Like Manuel was saying, there's currently long waiting times for you to even get an appointment. Labour, for instance, is planning to include 40,000 more appointments. So if I'm a Ghanaian and I'm living in the UK, these are some of the things that would, change my mindset in terms of the party that I vote for. When it comes to the economy, they are also promising to not increase taxes, but to make the environment more conducive for workers and businesses. I'm a business owner as well. And I am also looking at what sort of safe haven would I have if I'm starting a business? What are the policies or what are the funding policies or guidance procedures that would be able to help me? And like Manuel said, we have a lot of graduates coming out of universities, right? And most of these guys are either looking for how to transition into the real life, either find a job or start a business. So you're then looking at what policies would be more favorable for me if I'm looking to do that transition. Am I able to jump onto a government scheme or government entrepreneurship scheme? Or will it be easy for me to find a job or within my career line? So let's say if you did health or you did real estate, is it easy for you to find something there? What are the measures that the government is putting in place? And initially for those, especially in the in uni, there was this policy, this current policy, the post-study work visa, that was introduced was actually introduced by Labour and then brought back, was somehow cancelled, but then brought back by the Tories again. But now it is currently under threat. And most people are looking at, well, what can we do if we can't stay in this country for after 2 years? Then it's going to be a big problem for us. So we always say Ghanaians don't want to hear anything that sort of threatens their continuous living here or would jeopardize their success in finding jobs, in finding education, in finding quality working environments to do business in. So these are the major driving factors for Ghanaians living in the UK.
Right. You've spoken about education and economic opportunities. And please speak up for me. So what are your expectations by the end of today then?
So expectations for me personally, if you look at the polls, just like Manuel has said, Labour has about a 20-point lead. So it looks like it's going into their favor. And for the Ghanaian community, in terms of immigration policies, from where I sit, Labour is the one that is forthcoming. Because as we currently, as Manuel said, we have a lot of Ghanaians in the health sector, right? Now, they are not able, under the current regime or under current policies, they're not able to bring or travel. These are the nurses and the doctors when they're coming to work in the UK, they're not able to bring their dependents with them, right? And so a lot of these guys are going to vote for Labour because Labour is going to make this policy more flexible, more welcoming, more receptive to Ghanaians overseas who are traveling in from abroad. So it's a no-brainer if you're a health worker to go for Labour at this point. Also, with regards to education, a lot of people have childcare duties right now. So you are looking at a policy that would help you release that burden so that you can go in, you can go out and find a job and do business. Now, Labour is bringing in about 3,000 new nurseries. And what this is going to do is that it's going to help ease up and allow people to, or families to take their kids to nurseries and take care, and then that gives them more time to go and do more work and earn for themselves. So these are the policies that trickle down and speak to the core of the Ghanaian community, in my view.
Let me bring in Manuel Koranteng then. Based on everything that has been said, like he said, it would be a no-brainer for some of these people not to vote for Labour because of their own interests. But would you say white British are thinking along the same lines? And secondly, what do you think the impact of this election will be, not just on the Ghanaian community in the UK, but Ghana-UK relations moving forward?
Yeah, Ben, to answer your question, the very first bit of the question, there are polls that have sampled opinions from typical, conservative voters, people who have voted conservative all their lives, who are saying for the very first time that they are going to vote Labour. So there's definitely a level of disillusionment among, even people of British white descent. The question again is, like you're saying, it comes down to interest and the ability of the various political parties to be able to convince the voters to vote for them. And so, yes, while there's that level of disillusionment among typical conservative voters, there's also perhaps another community. I've spoken to Black people who say, well, I'm voting conservative, I'm voting the Tories. And so the interest really varies from person to person. I appreciate Arnulf's point on what his personal, expectations are and so on and so forth. But obviously, that is not the case for every single Ghanaian or every single member of the migrant community in the UK. Now, coming down to your next question of the potential impact of the outcome of this particular election on Ghana-UK relations. I mean, you'd understand that, for instance, post the pandemic, the West, the European West, has begun to tighten its belt and actually put a stronger foot forward in terms of its relations with Africa. And this is particularly because of the if you like, onslaught or the gaining of momentum of the East, particularly Russia and then China, while the total value of business that is done between China, Russia, and then African countries is increasingly becoming even more. The UK is looking to also increase. Last year, I spoke to the Minister for International Business in the UK, Nigel Huddleston, who had reason to, for instance, sound a caution to particularly Ghanaians to be wary of their, if you like, interaction with Chinese counterparts and so on and so forth. So you get the sense that as for the foreign policy and the dynamics of international relations, there seems to be a consensus across both aisles of Parliament, for instance, to make sure that the UK regains its influence in the African continent and increases its relations, whether it is trade, whether it is, cultural, whether it is sports, whether it's education, what have you, increase the quantum of exchanges that happen between the UK and then the African countries, and in this case, Ghana. So
right.
Yes, there will be an impact. I suppose even an enhanced sort of relations between the British government and then the Ghanaian government, whichever way the outcome of this particular election goes.
Interestingly, I'd just been reading something on Al Jazeera, one Aniala Safda, and Tim, writing this article, Tim Flynn, a 71-year-old retired psychotherapist, has voted for Labour all his life, but this time he plans to protest against the party and back his local Green Party candidate. So it's going to make for very interesting reading. You have Conservatives who say we'll vote Labour, Labour who are now saying, you know what, maybe I'll vote Conservative, Conservatives or Labour who are going for the Green Party. But at the end of the day, we'll find out how the cookie crumbles. So, gentlemen, it's been an interesting conversation. I don't know, though, just quickly before you go, has there been any talk about Brexit from both parties? Are they attuned to Brexit in terms of the relations of the UK to the rest of Europe, or is there anything in there? Are there any differences? Manuel, quickly on that, and then we can wrap.
Absolutely, there is a huge difference in terms of the approach.
Very quickly, what is the difference?
So, for instance, the Reform UK Party, which originally was Brexit's party, is keen on keeping the UK out of Brexit. The Liberal Democrats have said on record, Sir Ed Davey, who is the leader of the Liberal Democrats Party, says that they are going to make sure that the UK joins the EU again. Keir Starmer of the Labour Party has not been, emphatic about whether or not we are going to, join again or not, but he's keen on increasing cooperation between the UK and then the EU. The Conservative Party, which delivered Brexit anyways, at this point needs to, and as many of its key functionaries have said, need to stand by their position.
Okay, interesting thoughts. Anof, any final words? Just to be fair before we go, Anof, any final words?
Yes, it's turned out to be a very interesting turnout of events, especially for the Tories, because things have not really gone favourable for them. It's been a change from one prime minister after the other, from Boris Johnson, from his Partygate issues, down to Liz Truss, who didn't have a grip on the economy, and then Rishi Sunak came in, and also with his very tough immigration rules, especially for the immigrant community who are not so happy with a lot of his policies. So, and then obviously with the introduction of Nigel Farage, who seems to be catching everyone's attention with this public, or let me say gimmicks in a way.
Right.
So it would turn out to be a very interesting one. At the end of the day, people are going to vote on interest lines, party lines, and benefits, really. That's how I look at it. By the end of the day, I think Labour is going to carry the day based on the polls that we've seen. If nothing changes, then that's what's going to happen.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much for having joined the conversation.
I mean, all the best today. I hope the best party comes out victorious.
Well, I don't know about best party. Sometimes it's not about being the best party, it's about what the people want. Yeah. But those who joined us for this conversation, Manuel Kranting, He's an international journalist. He's based in the UK. And we also had Anofo Fori, a UK-based Ghanaian and founder of Impact Ghana. Once more, gentlemen, thank you for joining the conversation. Well, do stay with us. There's still some more action coming your way before we wind down on the AM show. We take a break. We'll be right back.